Ukraine's president has been visiting an armaments factory this Monday. Volodymyr Zelensky touring the site in Pennsylvania. He arrived in the United States on Sunday for a crucial visit to present Kyiv's plan to end 2.5 years of war with Russia. Zelensky bills it as Ukraine's victory plan.
As his motorcade approached the ammunition plant, a small number of supporters gathered to show their appreciation for Volodymyr Zelensky's visit. But the Ukrainian president was there to give thanks himself as factory workers ramp up production of 155mm artillery shells, rounds desperately needed by the Ukrainian army to fight off Russian advances. At one point in the war, Ukraine was firing between 6,000 and 8,000 of the shells per day, which started to deplete American stockpiles. The US now aims to manufacture 100,000 rounds per month. The visit kicked off a busy week for Zelensky in the US as he tries to shore up support for Kyiv's war effort. After speaking at the UN General Assembly on Tuesday and Wednesday, he'll hold talks with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in Washington on Thursday and is expected to meet with Donald Trump.
It's this fall that will decide what happens next in this war. Ukraine will present the victory plan in the United States, and the President of the United States will be the first to see it in full.
In particular, Zelensky's hoping to finally receive permission to use American longer-range missile systems to fire deeper inside Russia. Vladimir Putin has warned that Russia would be at war with the US and its NATO allies if they allow Ukraine to use the weapons. Zelensky's trip comes after a summer of intense fighting, with Moscow advancing in the eastern Donbass region and Kyiv holding on to swathes of Russia's Kursk region. It also coincides with US efforts to prepare a $375 million military aid package for Ukraine, breaking a months-long trend towards smaller packages.
For analysis, we turn to a Eurasia specialist. Melinda Haring joins us, senior advisor at Razom for Ukraine. Melinda, thanks for being with us as always here in France 24. We appreciate your time. How important is this visit for Zelensky and for Ukraine?
Hi, Mark. It's imperative. So Zelensky knows the pressure's on. He has to convince Biden to do something different, and he has to build a good relationship with Harris. And Trump has said a lot of different things, but he needs to build a workable relationship with Trump. The election is sort of 50-50, so the Ukrainians don't know who's going to come out ahead in the election. But Zelensky really feels time pressure, because right now we've got Biden for 4 more months, and he thinks that he needs to make a case and that Biden may be amendable to doing certain things he's been unwilling to do before.
Is there anything you can tell us about this victory plan? Give us a sense of what Zelensky might be planning. I know you can't give us everything, but can you give us some kind of hints?
Yeah, Mark, it hasn't been revealed yet, but Zelensky did an interview in the New Yorker, and he put some of the details out there. So one thing that is certain is that Zelensky is going to push for NATO membership again. And it seems like there may be some openness with President Biden. So President Biden doesn't have a whole lot time left as president. He's sort of thinking about his legacy. So that's one area I expect him to push on. Number 2, I expect President Zelensky to ask for fewer restrictions on U.S. weapons. And this has been in the news. We've talked about this many times. It may not be announced publicly, and that's still a win. So that's something else I'd be watching for. Economic cooperation is area number 3. And number 4, so there's a small limited period of time. And Zelensky's calling on the West to stand up and do more now. And he's going to ask for more military capabilities. I don't know what those are, but those are the things that I'm watching for in the next day or so.
He toured a munitions factory this Monday. What message is that sending?
So it's really interesting that he went to this plant in Pennsylvania, and he had the governor of Zaporizhia, which is out in the east, with him. And last night, Zaporizhia got hit with missile strikes. So I thought that was really good symbolism. But Zelensky went to the workers. He didn't go to the top brass. He shook hands. He did retail politics. I thought it was a very strong moment. He's trying to make those connections, bridge the connections between ordinary Ukrainians and ordinary workers. I thought it was a strong moment, and what a way to start the tour.
The request from Ukraine, though, from the very, very start has been very consistent, hasn't it? It's been obviously more weapons. It's been air defences. But now, of course, this further request, the green light to use the weapons beyond Ukraine's borders. How important is that, do you think, for what Zelensky wants to do next?
So the name of the game right now, Mark, is keeping Ukraine intact through the winter. The winter is going to be brutal. It's going to be the third winter that Ukraine has been at war, and the power grid is very, very vulnerable. So Ukraine needs more air defense systems. It's expected to get about 7 Patriots, or big air defense systems, this fall, which is good, but it's not enough to protect the grid. The grid is heavily damaged. The UN has put out a report that says that there will be blackouts between 4 to more than 10 hours every day as those temperatures begin to decline. And that has knock-on effects. It has knock-on effects on the economy, for education. There's 100,000 Ukrainian children that are doing online schooling, and it's going to impede their access after many years of, up and down education. So that's something I'm worried about. But Zelensky's got to keep the state alive. He's got to keep unity together in his military. And look, the pressure is on for him to make some kind of deal. This is not going to go on forever and ever. If Donald Trump is elected, he's very worried that America is going to zero out assistance pretty quickly. And he has to contend with that. So he's here to shore up relations, build relations with everyone he can, and push Biden as much as he can over the next 4 months. But he's really decided to play offense. That's what he's doing here. He's been pushed over and over again. What is a theory of victory? And the Ukrainians said it was a return to the 91 borders, plus Crimea, plus the Russians would leave, justice would be established. But now he's saying we've got to be able to seize territory. We've got to be able to go to the negotiating table and get a deal. The other thing that he says, Mark, that's important is justice is a non-negotiable. He said that a couple of times in his interviews. So that's a point that I expect him to come back to as well.
Justice is non-negotiable. Melinda Haring, thank you as always for your insight. We do appreciate it. Melinda Haring, their Senior Advisor at Razom for Ukraine. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
We will be watching all developments, of course.